Hello and welcome to ITV London Online, where we're joined by a very special guest tonight. This is Dan.
Thanks.
Who is the lead singer of a great band, Bastille. But if you're not quite remembering them just yet, just take a quick listen to one of their songs.
Close your eyes. Does it almost feel like nothing changed at all? And if you close your eyes, does it almost feel like you've been here before? How am I gonna be an optimist about this? How am I gonna be an optimist about this? We were caught up and lost in all.
Just the slickest production.
That clip in the video of me running, ever since that song came out, my mates, everyone I'm in the band with, everybody just absolutely ripped me to shreds and rinsed me for how bad my running is.
To be fair, I was going to mention that because you've spoken about that particular clip, as we'll come on to it later.
Yeah.
You're actually here to talk about running the London Marathon, which we'll come on to, and I believe that bit of running...
That's the particular bit, yeah.
Quite a little bit of stick.
Yes.
Did that not put you off?
No, I guess. Well, maybe this is my moment of redemption, my running redemption. I can show people that I'm not as bad as I once was. But yeah.
Well, we might as well get to it now because you've been on a world tour,
Yes.
touring with the band, of course, which is incredibly successful. And at what point did you wake up and think, you know what, touring the world, all this music, I really want to run the London Marathon?
Definitely didn't wake up one day and think that, but I guess you see it every year on TV, or I live in London, so you can go out and watch it, and it's always really inspiring and really fun to watch. And I saw it, and I think I mentioned to my mum, who used to work for a charity, I mentioned to her, like, oh, maybe I could do the marathon, it'd be a great way to raise money. Not expecting her to turn around and be like, sure, I've got you a place, straight away. And then immediately I was like, oh God, okay, I guess I have to do it then. So I was sort of in denial about it all of last year, and then started training at the end of the year. But yeah, I guess it just seemed like an interesting challenge and a way to sort of raise awareness for breast cancer now and hopefully raise a lot of money.
A lot of people regret it as soon as they see the training regimes.
Yeah.
It must have been even harder for you because, you're not really by a strict schedule that you can know when you're running. You're all around the world all the time.
Yeah, I guess, I think it's a really big thing for anybody to take on, like both physically, but also just in terms of time. Like all my friends that have done it or do it, fitting it around your work, around your weekends, whatever, it's quite a big deal. I happen to have just a slightly unusual job, and when we're on tour, it's kind of three gigs on in different countries every night, and then one day off, and 3 gigs on and 1 day ooff. So I worked with this trainer called Elkie to try and make a plan where on the days off, that's when I did my big runs. Because it's quite a lot, but it's quite a lot for anyone. So I don't feel like it's any harder for me. It's just a different set of challenges.
Yeah, you got the different backdrops as well for your training runs.
Exactly.
It gets a bit boring just running up and down the Thames. I can tell you that. If you're going away and say running on the beach in Rio de Janeiro or something like that. It
was a really nice way to see a lot of places. I think when you're touring, even though we travel a lot, just the nature of it is you're in a different country or city every day, and often most of your time is taken up kind of sound checking or doing the gig itself or doing interviews. So even though, we're very lucky and we get to be in these amazing places, often you only really have an hour in the day to get out of the venue. And so this was a really nice opportunity to get out and because I had to sort of see the cities from the streets and from the ground up and actually get to explore properly. It was amazing. I probably saw more of a bunch of European cities this time around than I've ever seen before.
Yeah, and I suppose you mentioned it before. Have you ever done any sort of running challenge like this?
Years ago, I ran a half marathon, and as I finished, I didn't really train for it, and as I crossed the finish line, and there was like a white crust on my face of dried salt, I remember thinking, I am never, ever doing anything like this again in my life, and I'm very happy to never do it again in my life. So the fact that I'm doing it now feels like a minor miracle. But, it's really strange. I think anyone that does anything like this and trains for it, you go from a place where you can't imagine running more than a mile or two, and, it's just bizarre to flash forward sort of 3-4 months and be able to run 23 miles, it's and hopefully 26 on the day.
Yeah.
It is mad. But
You've had people taking the mick out of you running in that video.
Oh yeah.
So are you excited just for this idea, so you can banish the myth
I mean,
Tell all your fans, forget about that video. I can run 26 miles.
at least now I have a comeback. Yeah. if I do it, if I survive, at least I, despite having the worst technique and having the most unslick running technique in the entire world, at least I'll have been able to put it to some good use.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will. And there's obviously everyone who runs a marathon, because there'll be a lot of people at home as well, have got a story behind it. And yours is very personal as well. It's because your mother was diagnosed with breast cancer. Is that right?
Yeah, she was. Very. It was kind of a real shock for her and for my family. But breast cancer is unfortunately a very common disease, and it affects a lot of people, a lot of families, a lot of women. And my mum was very fortunate. The treatment that she had was pretty difficult for her, but she was amazing, and she's okay, and she's in remission. And I guess, all it can make us think is that we're very lucky, for that to be the outcome, and want that for everybody, And breast cancer now, the charity that she used to work for, and the one that I'm running for, and we are running for, me and my two friends. It's an amazing, and it's an amazing charity that funds research into breast cancer care and treatment, and that's beneficial for everybody who suffers from it all around the world. So yeah, that's this. It's obviously something that I feel very passionately about.
She's in remission now, which is
she
great
is, yeah,
news.
which is amazing.
When you first sort of learned of your mum's cancer and things, you're obviously away a lot on tour with the band. Did that make it more difficult?
Yeah, it was. I think it's very, very hard news to take for anybody, but it was a massive shock, and it was really hard being away for a lot of it. All you want to be in a situation like that is alongside your family or your mum, for the whole thing. And it was really difficult. But it was difficult for the whole family, I think. I'm in touch with everyone a lot when I'm away, but with something like that, we it just made the effort to be back as much as possible and be around as much as possible, and go to the hospital with her and go to appointments with her as much as I could, and just be around. Luckily, our whole family lives in London, and the amazing thing as well is my sister had a baby around the same time that my mum was diagnosed, which was like an amazing positive thing to have running alongside.
Yeah, of course.
Running alongside that. But yeah, no, it was obviously hard being away. I can't imagine a situation in which it wouldn't have been really hard. But yeah.
Well, it's a fantastic cause, and it's only 10 days' time. There'll be a lot of people watching.
I know, 10 days.
Have you got any, just based off your training so far, have you got any advice for anyone who's watching?
Anyone that's seen me run will know that I'm definitely not someone that should be doling out advice. I guess the only thing is when I was a kid, I was terrible at sport. I didn't really do any sport at all. I was always I was really large as well. I can't imagine teenage me ever having thought I could do anything like a marathon. So I guess it's not advice, but for me, it's just really that I think pretty much anybody can do it and can have a go. And if I can hobble and gangle my way over the marathon course, then I think anybody can.
Yeah. Well, they say it's all in the mind, don't they?
Yeah. I mean, that's not technically true. Having tried to get out there and run, I'd like to think it is, but
you can't just get up one day when you're in the right mindset and think, I'll do a marathon.
But I guess the thing with running is, it's one sport that you don't really, apart from maybe a pair of trainers, but even then, it's the easiest thing to just get out and do. Yeah. Like you said, in that sense, it's only the mind. So, and in that way, it's really inclusive. So, but I think for me, having an end goal, having the marathon to work towards, and knowing that I told people that I was doing it and had to do it, and that I wanted to, try and fundraise as much as possible. Those are definitely things that kept me going in the long runs, where all you want to do is have a little sit down.
Well, best of luck with that. I just want to come on to the band now, because you've been going for quite a while now. We were all amazed when we were doing the research and things in the office today.
Yeah.
How long? Because we listened to Pompeii before. How long ago that song was?
I know, man. It's mad.
But that was all over the place. One of the most streamed songs of all time. And you're from London originally.
I am, yeah.
How have you found it? That sort of really speedy rise to fame.
I think we felt really lucky that people have embraced our music, and it's totally changed our lives, and we feel really, really lucky for that. But we all still you know, we all still spend as much time as possible at home. Obviously, we're on tour a lot, but we've sort of done our best to let our music speak for itself and not kind of be in people's faces too much. So, you know, life in London for us is pretty normal, and yeah, I guess we feel very fortunate to have almost a double life, as you know, we can go off and tour and play festivals to lots of people and play shows and record music and all this kind of stuff, and then come home and not really be that affected by it.
So the songs and things, we've spoken a bit about your personal life. Does that come into your music quite a lot?
Yeah, I guess so, a little bit. I think we've always tried to write, I always wanted to write about stuff that interests me, and I'm not that interested in myself. So, you know, our songs have often, you know, they're framed through like our experience of life, but I've always wanted to, you know, to write about slightly strange subject matters, like Pompeii's about the aftermath of a volcano, and you know, we've got songs about characters from Twin Peaks and gangsters and.
I was like, some stuff's quite unusual, isn't it?
Yeah, totally.
Because people know sort of the big songs like Pompeii and things like that, but quite a lot of your album tracks quite out there, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah, totally. And I think we're really. I love pop music, and I always, you know, I always want songs to be as interesting and as big and as old as possible. And I think that's, you know, because there aren't really any boundaries to our sound. We sort of just do whatever we feel like, and that's a really nice place for us to be. You know, we can which allows us to have, you know, songs like Pompeii or like Happier at the Moment or Good Grief or whatever that kind of really tip into like the mainstream, and then we can also just get on with doing.
Yeah, it's about to ask that, because there's a fine balance, isn't it, for sort of guitar-based bands and things like that to sort of get into the mainstream, get into the charts.
Yeah, I think the thing is, I think we were maybe kind of lumped in with guitar bands and as a guitar band because we came from a place where we, you know, we write and produce and do it all ourselves, and we always toured from the ground up. We were like, you know, the four of us cramming in a car with all our gear and driving around the country and sleeping on floors and playing in pubs. So we came from a kind of indie world, but we were never strictly a guitar band. It was a production online thing as well. So I guess, yeah, we're in this bizarre but quite happy for us place of sitting between like the indie world and the pop world, and yeah, it's quite nice to sort of defy expectations a bit.
And as far as the music scene in London goes, because obviously, is that where you sort of honed your talent, sort of on the stages in and around?
Yeah, so I obviously grew up in London. I went to uni in Leeds, and that's sort of where I started. That's where I played my first gig. But then I moved back here, and I used to play by myself with a loop pedal and a piano, and it was quite a heavy piano. I used to schlep it around on my shoulder, on the tubes.
I can imagine. I went to Leeds Uni as well. I can imagine people walking around there like that. There's a lot of a music scene around.
Yeah, no, the music scene in Leeds was amazing, and I would never be in a band if it wasn't for that. But London, you know, London was where there was an amazing scene, a North London indie scene for a while that was, you know, really inclusive, and there was just.
That's sort of the mid-noughties and
late noughties. Yeah.
That was when.
Yeah.
Guitar music, and there was a lot of bands coming up then.
Yeah, exactly. It was kind of like early 2010s or whatever you'd call that. But yeah, there were just so many venues to play in, so many club nights, so many shows and so many bills to be on, and it was a really fun, exciting time to be around. You know, lots of interesting people came from that era. You know, people like Florence and the Machine and Mumford & Sons and you know, Amy Winehouse, but also going back a bit further, kind of the Libertines. Like, there were so many bands and acts that came from in and around there. It was really like fun, exciting place to be.
Do you find that scene, the London sort of music scene, is still quite vibrant? Because, you know, we report every now and then about sort of venue closures and how the scene's changing and things like that. Is that something that you found, or?
I guess, you know, over the last 10 years or more, you know, for us, we toured and we played loads in London and we played loads all around the country, but we also, you know, when we were around, it was when like music on things like Facebook and Twitter was sort of blooming, and so and SoundCloud and Spotify, you know, it was that was really huge for us.
Yeah.
But you know, prior to that, if you wanted to see new music, you had to go to a venue. So I guess, unfortunately, because of that, there's a space to break as a new artist and never go to a venue and never play a show. So many young artists that are coming through now, you know, that's their route to it, which is amazing, and it's totally brilliant, and it's totally democratizing, and it, you know, it breaks down a lot of barriers. But I'm sure has had a negative effect on venues. But small venues are so important, and whilst there are some closing, there's also, there's lots of interesting little venues in London that are opening up, and there's nothing like going to see a live gig. There's nothing like...
I'm quite lucky in London because we still get a lot of acts here, and there's all so diverse.
It's amazing. We're so lucky. Everything comes through, from big shows to small, and that makes it.
So, do you get recognised now when you go out on the streets in London?
Sometimes.
Because you've had quite a few different haircuts.
Not very much. Yeah,
well.
I mean, it helps when you've had a ridiculous comedy quiff for 5 years and then you cut it off. That kind of helps. But I think the thing is with us, like I was saying earlier, is we're very fortunate in that some people know our music, but generally for people to know who we are, they've come to, they'll only recognise me because they know or like our music. So we're not really on TV much or anything. So people, I think, I'm not that recognisable. So when it happens, I generally get more excited than anybody else.
Yeah, got some new.
You recognise me? Let's take a photo. Yeah.
I like that. I like the idea that the stars out there still get excited when something happens. Go, oh, let's get a selfie.
Yeah. I'm sure if if I was like super famous and you couldn't walk down the street, I'm sure that would have its own challenges. But I get to live.
Yeah.
Like
get the tube without
the tube everywhere, and the bus and stuff, and that's
I think that's
what's amazing about London, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah.
So you've got some new music coming out soon, is that right?
We do. Yeah. But
he looks over nervously.
Our manager's like, no. Yeah, we do. We have potentially some new music sometime in the future. Is that okay?
Well, we all look forward to it. Well, thanks very much for coming. It's been a pleasure to talk to you.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks very much for watching. This will be available on Facebook and YouTube. Bye for now.